Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terror Podcast, Season 10, Episode 41. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being with us on this Monday, this victory Monday for Steelers Nation, 17-12 Week 10 victory over the Los Angeles Rams. Dave, life is pretty good right now, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely, 5-4. But I gotta be entirely honest with you. At no point up until Minkah Fitzpatrick intercepted that pass late in the game did I think the Steelers were going to win that game.
I'm still nervous. Have they won it? Is it over? The defense going to make another stop today, Dave?
I tell you keep sending them out there, and they keep coming through there. But yeah, it was nervous Nelly for sure. You know, you just kept wondering how many more times can you send that defense out there to get the job done and continue to shut down a good obviously a good Rams offense the way they did. And just full disclosure there, I didn't think they were going to win it until Minkah intercepted that pass.
I had the same thought process as you. I was just telling myself, I think I even tweeted, how many times can you rely and expect this defense to answer the call repeatedly throughout the entire second half? And they did time and time again. So just, I think, a signature win and a statement victory that says, hey, this defense is they're not good. They're elite. They're an elite defense right now. I can say that with confidence. They may not play like that every single week, but man, that is a special bunch.
Boy, and I posted the adjusted net yards per pass. I don't know how sick people are
we're
of
getting
that
number
sack
early here.
I don't know how sick people are of that stat, but to me, it's always been a very telling stat. And right now, I mean, if you look at the number, then of course you look at the number since Minkah Fitzpatrick came along. It's really hard to ignore. Steelers defensive adjusted net yards per passing attempt stat now sits at my estimation at 4.85, and that of course will still be top 5 lowest in the NFL after week 10, or should be. Since Minkah Fitzpatrick arrived, that number is a jaw-dropping 3.55. Alex, this is a top-level defense I think that we're dealing with right now, and as many know, huge fan of that stat. And anytime you get in today's NFL game, it's hard going back over the years and trying to compare it to other defenses, just how the game has changed in just like last 5 years alone. But in my opinion, if you have a number under 5, that's fantastic, and to get it down closer to a number 4 is really unreal, in my opinion, in today's NFL game. Now, we're only 9 games through this still, and obviously the Steelers had some kind of, I guess you'd call it lesser quality offenses, maybe, although the Colts offense, even with Hoyer, still respectable, and the Rams offense that the Steelers beat yesterday, obviously respectable, but now you're getting into the part of the schedule against some offenses that aren't very good. So you would expect this defense to kind of keep on doing what they're doing. That's provide pressure on the quarterback and maybe get another turnover or 6 or so, along the way there. Right. So very impressed. I haven't been this excited, and I said this a couple weeks ago, I haven't been this excited about a Steelers defense in some time now.
It's no longer a question, which we were asking ourselves last year, of if they will get a turnover. It's a question of how many turnovers they're going to record. And obviously getting a guy like Minkah Fitzpatrick, we'll talk about him throughout the show, has been monumental and critical and in some ways a catalyst for the defense, creating the takeaways that it has. But let's take a quick step back because we want to start with the injury report. We waited on the podcast a little bit to wait for Mike Tomlin to speak at his Monday press conference, shortened week because of the Thursday game, so he spoke to the media Monday at noon, went through the injury report. Dave, do you want to run through things and talk about what Tomlin said?
Yeah, Mike Tomlin started off by talking about the 3 players who suffered injuries against the Rams. Ryan Switzer with a back, Ola Adaney with a hip, and outside linebacker Anthony Chickalo with a rib. He kind of left it up in the air, playing it by ear with those guys because it's a short week. He doesn't know what it means for those guys. They've yet to be evaluated this morning. So, maybe we'll have some more information for you, but there won't be a lot of opportunities during the course of the week for those guys to work their way into the rotation or show their availability just to, we'll wait and see on those guys, basically. The guys who missed the game with injuries, James Conner with a shoulder, Ramon Foster concussion, Roosevelt Nix with a knee, and Benny Snell Jr. Half of them, James Conner, Ramon Foster, Mike Tomlin's optimistic about having those two guys back for the Thursday night game against the Browns. Doesn't sound so positive about Roosevelt Nix and Benny Snell Jr. with both of them dealing with knee injuries there. So, keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully Connor will have, he seems, talking with the media today, looking at the reports on Twitter, he seems optimistic about possibly playing Thursday night. And, we'll have to see about Ramon Foster and working his way back from that concussion. So, that's where we stand right now. And, this week's going to obviously move kind of quick here. And, probably an estimated injury report comes out later today. And then, then you'll have a Tuesday injury report and probably not much of a Wednesday one because they have to travel. So, we're probably not going to know really firm on a couple of these guys maybe until Wednesday evening.
Getting Connor back, though, on a short week is going to be huge for a run game that's floundering. The only thing to note with the injury report I'm paying special attention to is the health of guys like Chicolo and Oladeney, just because from an outside linebacker depth standpoint, special teams standpoint, if you miss those guys, you could be in a tight spot with the depth in that situation. So Connor, that was the big story here, and that's obviously fantastic news.
Yeah, and we'll talk about it, I'm sure, here throughout the course of the podcast. But that running game, hard to find in much positive with it, especially since Connor went down late in the game against Miami. So if they could get him back off of a couple of weeks rest and him be up to the task, that sure would be some sort of a shot in the arm, you would think, because once again, this running game, they need to get this thing up and going here.
They do, Dave. Absolutely. We'll talk about that later in the show. I want to start, usually we go offense or defense, but I just want to start with Mike Tomlin. I wrote the article today, and I'm not alone in this thought or even writing an article that read like this, but you just have to take a step back, and I know that he won't think about it in this way right now because it's not how he operates middle of the year, and probably rightfully so, but you have to give Tomlin a ton of credit for keeping his team together. You're 1-4, you're on the road, you're playing LA, you never went on the West Coast, you got Duck Hodges making his first career start at quarterback. It's chaos, and I think 95% of the teams in that situation would just fall apart. They would have lost that game, they would have lost a couple more, season would be over right now. And the Steelers, as they've done time and time again, find a way to come together, rise up in the face of adversity, and go on this win streak, and it's remarkable. So I just want to take a small step back, look big picture, and say that's credit to Tomlin and his leadership and that next man up and that never say die attitude that he embodies and the team rallies around. And obviously players got to execute, and they're playing well, and we'll talk about that throughout the show. But just from a top-down standpoint, you don't go 1-4 and rally back without a really good culture and a really strong leadership in that locker room, which is players, but also I think it's obviously on the head coach.
Yeah, the story of the books, story's still being written here
Sure.
through the rest of the season. But man, you remember the feeling coming out of that game against the Ravens. You lose your starting quarterback, your second starting quarterback, to a concussion in Mason Rudolph. You lose a game that you felt you had a good chance of winning. And then, you're what were you 1-4 at the time, right? And going out west against what we thought was a pretty decent Chargers team at the time with a guy that wasn't even under center, that wasn't even on your 53-man roster. At the start of the season there. So to rattle off 4 wins in a row, and obviously you can call the ending of the Colts game whatever you want to call it, but still
I call it a win.
Yeah, it's still a win, and to be at this. Hey, we're looking at the standings right now, and this is the number 6 seed. I mean, if you hate to use the old if the playoffs started today, at the beginning of week 11, but Yeah, if the playoffs started today, the Steelers would be in the playoffs as a number 6 seed. So now, what's happened is behind you, and now it's up to you to see if you can finish the rest of this season out and get into the playoffs. As improbable as that likely was at the end of heading into week 6.
Agreed. Well said. And it blows my mind that, as you just said, if the season ended today, the Steelers would be in the playoffs. They control their fate. They control their destiny the rest of the way. And that's a remarkable turnaround from where you were really just about a month ago. I think October 13th was a Chargers game. So a month ago, this is a 1-4 team. Today, they're 5-4. And right now, the 6th seed. So let's get back to the game. Look at the defense here because I think that's the obvious place to start. And it's the same old mostly. There's a couple of differences in this game we haven't seen in the past. But it's, again, the defense being dominant, the pass rush being strong, the defense creating takeaways, 4 of them in total on Sunday against the Rams. And to me, one of the best individual defensive performances I've seen in a long, long time.
It really was. Boy, you hold that Rams offense for start. Well, Todd, let's start with what they did, against the run. Now, they gave up a couple of nice runs in that game. Couple, I think, 9-yarders to Gurley, and I think he had a 22-yard run as well, too. But their net rushing yards for the game was 88. And if you would have told me that was the number or offered me that as being the Rams number ahead of the game, I think I would have taken it for sure. And once again, how they got there, if you look at successful run rates, which I haven't looked at yet, probably as a whole, they probably did good. You tighten up a few things in that. But, the most glaring thing, I think, when you look at this is third down. The Rams were 1 of 14 in the game. And the other glaring thing, I'm trying to find Cooper Kupp's receptions on this stat sheet. I think I got an error here or something. 4 targets, 0 catches. And, in my 7 keys that I try to put together every week, I put, don't let the cup runneth over. And, if you would have told me keeping him to 80 yards in the game and keeping him out of the end zone, I would have signed up for that in a heartbeat. But for him to come out of that game with 0 catches is absolutely phenomenal there. And, Goff, had some limited success, but the 2 interceptions there and the fumble really were turning points in the game, and just really a masterful job from a pressure standpoint. Just continually, we talk about how sacks and pressure aren't really 2 different things a lot of times. If you can continually get pressure on a quarterback, especially with 3 and 4 man rushes, that's going to pay dividends a lot of times, especially if occasionally you are getting to the quarterback. And just time and time again, when I'm watching that game live, I was like, man, just look at the push and the pressure that front's getting there. And when you're able to rush and get after the quarterback with 4 or sometimes less, it really helps the back end because you have that extra guy in the back end. So just kind of running out of superlatives here. And when you have a guy running around in that secondary like Minkah Fitzpatrick that seems to have a ball magnet inside of him, that helps too. And what a find, what an acquisition he has been. At this point, the ball literally just seems to just jump right in his hands, and that just doesn't happen by accident either. It's about being in the place at the right time, and really everybody being in the place at the right time, because let's face it, that last interception doesn't happen if Joe Hayden's not there, defending. I thought Joe Hayden had a great game. I thought Steve, really, you'd be hard pressed.
No one had a bad game. Yeah,
right, you'd be hard pressed to go through this thing and say, man, I wish so-and-so would have played better.
Even Mark Barron played well. Terrell Edmondson had a great game, but had a 4th down breakup with a minute and a half left in that game. There are so many stats to point to. I think you summed it up well, Dave. This is a perfect example of rush and coverage going together in this game. You don't shut out Cooper Kupp without great coverage, without a great game plan. You don't do that, though, without a pass rush, too. That makes life hard on Jared Goff and puts them behind the sticks. But the big number for me, and the reason why I had that little caveat of, was mostly what we've seen before. The one difference was, and this was the crucial one, the Steelers' 3rd down defense coming into this year was about average, a little bit below, and they turned that around Sunday again. Like you said, 1 of 14 on third down, 0-2 on fourth down. The last time the Steelers had a third down defense this good, causing a team to go 1-14 or worse, 1994 against the New York Giants. So that's something that you just haven't seen. And again, this was not an elite third down defense. They'd given up too many conversions over the course of the year, and they really, just clamped down on third down. That was the critical factor in why this Rams offense could do nothing Sunday.
And I think I highlighted on Twitter ahead of the game that Goff, has had his problems on third downs this year. I might even highlight it when we were talking to the beat writer the other day, and especially on the road with him. And look, people are, I'm sure Sean McVay's taken a lot of grief in his second season now, coming, or, is it his second season?
Third, 27.
Third season. Yeah. About, where did the boy wonder go and all like that? Is this defense is catching up with him? I think it's a combination of things with him. Look, their offensive line's beat up and they lost their center, which was kind of key early in this game as well too. Todd Gurley's probably not, they're probably not leaning on Todd Gurley the way they have in past years, especially using him out of the backfield as a pass catcher. But give some credit to the Steelers defense in this, as well. And we've been on Keith Butler a lot over the years, and how much credit does Keith Butler or Terrell Austin or Mike Tomlin, whoever get with it, get when it comes to great defensive play. I don't know where to lay out the percentages here. I'll tell you this though: you have that many pedigree players and draft picks on a defense. You better have something to show for it there, and they absolutely do. So once again, let's here's to hoping it continues. But it really was a masterful performance against what I still deem to be a very good Rams offense.
It was, and I think credit goes to everybody. I'm not super interested in giving out percentages, but obviously you have a great game plan. Anytime, Cooper Kupp the week before against the Bengals had 7 catches for 220 yards and a touchdown, and then you shut him out entirely. And I think Tomlin was even surprised by that. Did you hear what he said after the game when he was told about it? He literally said, kind of stopped and caught himself and said, "Is that true?" Whenever he was asked or said that, Kupp didn't have a catch. So even he was surprised by how much they shut him down. So that's a game plan thing. That's a coaching staff thing, but obviously also a player execution thing as well. So credit to everybody across the board. But I thought Joe Hayden had maybe his best game ever as a Steeler, maybe right up there with Week 15 against the Patriots last season. I mean, he had 2 breakups, the interception, which was a fantastic play because that was him just reading it. He kind of left his assignment because he saw the ball, read the route, and high pointed the ball and picked it off. So just a great job, a masterful job by really everyone defensively.
Absolutely, and then you get the fumble in there as well too. It was obviously a key turning point in the game. Look, you see these guys actively trying to pick the ball up off the ground in any situation now too.
Yep.
Don't let the referees play it out and let it get sorted out in the wash after that. We've seen time and time again. The last several seasons particularly, don't assume anything when it comes to officiating now in the NFL. If there's a loose ball on the ground, pick it up and hold on to it until the referee tells you to give it to him, And, I think Minka kind of talked about that after the game last night. And the one thing that was kind of instilled with him, during his time at Alabama there. So, keep doing those kind of things. And, if the defense, and I think even Minka talked recently last week or the week before sometimes about, look, even if everybody does their assignments and maybe they had the wrong call or something in place, but everybody does their assignments wrong, at least they're all wrong together,
Right.
In there. Now, obviously you don't want those kind of things to happen, more than you can help it. But I hate to go back to old Belichick, what he likes to do your job.
And they done their job, and I think that's what Fitzpatrick said. I think in the post-game locker room, he made one comment that made me kind of smile. He said he was talking with Bud on the sideline at one moment and said, I just love when we go out there and execute. We just go out there and do our job and play good sound fundamental football. And he's playing as well as anybody in the NFL right now. I'm going to pepper you with a couple of stats, Dave, because they're my favorite thing. Fitzpatrick, 2 defensive touchdowns this season, the first Steelers safety to have 2 defensive scores since Carnell Lake in 96. Cam Hayward's part of the 50 sack club now, only the second defensive lineman in Steelers history since that stat became official in 82.
Not a sack guy.
Not a sack guy, but he's got 50 of them now. Joins Keith Willis, only 2 Steelers defensive linemen in history. Again, since the stat became official, I know guys prior to that probably did, but they're not officially recorded. T.J. Watt, most sacks in his first 3 years in Steelers history, breaking Lamar Woodley's record of 29. Watt's now got 29 and a half, 30 and a half. He had 2 yesterday. That's all that matters. And Steelers have as many defensive touchdowns the last 2 weeks as they do offensive touchdowns, which is good and bad. But and the other stat I want to give you is they've won the turnover battle now in 8 straight games. I got to find a way to see if that's a record because it feels like it is. It's a hard stat to try to track down, but to win a turnover battle in 8 straight games, that is nothing short of remarkable.
Well, what did we say the narrative would be? Both of us picked against the Steelers, obviously. Yep. But what did we say the narrative would be if the Steelers somehow managed to win this game?
I don't remember 100%, but I think I just said the defense played amazing. That would be the narrative.
Right, and we would think that there, have to be a couple, 1 or 2 turnovers maybe in there as well. So. Live it up, enjoy it right now because, it's not the kind of thing that at least I don't think we can plan for getting one or 2 or 3 turnovers a game here. But they certainly have, night and day difference. 15 turnovers last season as a team. And you talked about the magic 25 stat, and here we are.
They passed it. There are 26 now through 9 games. That's the most they've had over that span to start a year since 1987. So they've already hit the magic number, and now you're talking about playoff relevancy where that number actually factors in.
Look at us now.
Look at us now. Anything else with the defense? I mean, you can go down the whole list. I thought Barron played a better game. I wish Williams would get more snaps. I know Barron, I guess, is wearing the green dot still. At least I assume so. And, he played all right. Steven Nelson played well. Mike Hilton, I know that's not a one-man job on Cooper Kupp, but Kupp lines up in the slot the majority of the time. So Hilton saw him. We'll have to go back to the All-22 and really kind of look at this thing with a close lens to see how they took Kupp away as well as they did. But just that whole secondary, just an awesome performance.
Yeah, and I obviously haven't gone through it with a fine-tooth comb yet either. But I just remember, every time you look at that, guys like Hargrave getting pushed through there. Alualu, I think he was the one that bowled over the center on the play that the center was injured on as well too. So obviously guys like Buggs, I don't remember him sticking out to me, but I think I saw Chicolo maybe get a little push on a play in there, and then all those guys defensively. Like I said, you go through this player by player there. It's hard to say, man, I wish so and so would have played much better game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did see Buggs have one really good rep as a run defender where he stacked and shed the block, I think, of the center or the right guard and made the tackle. So I'm going to have to look at that one when the All-22 comes out, and I'll probably tweet it out. But so even he showed a little bit of something for the first time in his career.
Yeah. I'm running out of things to kind of say here. Just at the point now, just hoping this kind of, if you can keep this defense healthy. I think history shows, especially where that adjusted number that I like to deal with is right now at this point of the season. If you look ahead at the teams that they're going to be facing, you would think they're going to win a few more games just by the play of the defense alone.
Mm-hmm. That's the way it's been. And while it's healthy right now, and you're right, this is a defense playing without arguably the best player on defense with Stephon Tuitt being hurt. He was doing the best job of anybody before he went down for the season. So imagine if he still had Tuitt around. I can't even wrap my head around how much better this defense would be.
And I think going into this game, I think the main reason you and I picked against the Steelers in this one wasn't so much as a disrespect to the defense. It was more wondering if the offense could put up enough points.
Yeah, that's what it came down to, and I was wrong about that in my prediction, and I'll own that one. But it's still fair to say the offense had its struggles and remains a concern going forward.
Fragile.
Yeah, French. Must be Italian.
Fragile. So I guess are we done talking about the defense so we can flip over to the other side of the ball here?
Unless you had anything else you wanted to add, but I think everyone knows how dominant it was, and that's all you really have to say. This was a dominant performance. And for me, again, I mean, can you remember this defense having a better individual game performance than what they did Sunday? 2007 against the Ravens is the one I go back to, the 35-7 Monday night victory. I can't think of one that might be better than this.
Yeah, well, not against a team that you would probably consider quality, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, all things in context, the opponent and the situation and the performance. I mean, they gave up 3 points. The other ones were all offensively charged.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dave, let's go to the offense now. Unfortunately, not nearly as rosy of a picture. But I will say is that the offense made some plays. Unfortunately, they hurt themselves as many times as they helped themselves, whether that was middle of the play or during the same drive or whatever. So there were signs of promise with this offense. They just could not get out of their own way.
No, they could not, and it starts. We talked earlier in the show, and we've been talking most of the season here. Unfortunately, outside of really, I guess, the game against Miami, they got to find a way to start running the ball better and more consistently. Okay, I mean the long runs, occasional long runs, are nice, but on a down by down basis, they have got to find a way to run the ball better. And notice I didn't say more, just better when they do run it. When you start doing that, or if you can start doing that, it should help the passing game a little bit more. At the very least, it should help you get into more makeable third down situations here. And this offense really up until late, I had to go back and look at kind of the snapshots at where this team was through the quarters there. It seems like they converted maybe a couple late third downs in this game, right? Or second half third downs in this game to kind of make it look somewhat, I guess, respectable here. 5 of 16 on third downs, though. That's got to get better. I think at one point the two teams had combined for something like, what was it, 3 third down conversions out of like 22?
I think it was like 422 at one point.
Yeah, something like that. Obviously, the Rams only had 1 at a time, which is great, but it's got to start with improving this running game, and hopefully James Conner will be back Thursday night, and they can kind of maybe pick up where they left off against the Dolphins. However, not that Roosevelt Nix was playing great in his return back overall, but his presence, does add a little something there. Look, we saw the run by Edmonds early in that game. What was against the Colts, where those linebackers had to respect where Rosie's going.
Right.
So it doesn't sound like they're going to have Rosie back for this game against the Browns. So can they muster up some sort of concepts or game plan where they can get this running game to have higher success rates? So that's where it starts with me, with some of this inability against the Rams to move the football consistently. And then before we even get into kind of breaking down, these wide receivers have got to stop dropping these and running backs. They got to stop dropping these footballs.
And tight ends. Vance had one too. Everyone. Vanette had one early in the game that got wiped out by Rams penalty. So, yeah, I mean, it's just Steelers beating Steelers. But for me, where it starts is literally this start. Because, again, this offense, it just falls behind the 8 ball on their first possession early in games too often. And it happened again against the Rams Sunday. Here's the Steelers' first possession their last 3 weeks coming out of the bye. Against Miami, interception. Against the Colts, interception. Against the Rams, high snap, fumble, Rams touchdown. That's a terrible way to start all 3 of those games. You're either putting points on the board for the opposition or giving the opposing offense a short field, your defense in a tough spot. The last time the Steelers had a first possession of the game that didn't result in a 3-and-out punt or a turnover was week 3 against the 49ers, which was a 3-and-out, but a field goal because of a 49ers turnover on their first possession of the game. So this offense has to find ways to start better, have to have a better script, and they got to execute a lot better because they just can't survive with these just abysmal starts.
They probably need to get someone out there better, a better captain out there for the coin toss, so they can.
They don't have an offense captain right now, right? There's no one out there on offense goes out there.
I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Send somebody out there with a little bit better luck, so maybe you start winning those things and start deferring here. Because make no mistake about it, teams are can't wait to win the coin toss and defer to have that Steelers offense out there. Right. I don't know how you felt at 14:46 left in the first quarter, but I wasn't feeling too positive after after Fowler, high snap and returns that thing 26 yards for a touchdown. I wasn't feeling too positive about that point.
No, I don't think anyone was. I know I wasn't. But yeah, I mean, Pouncey, that snap, his snaps all year been weird. I don't know. I mean, obviously it's a new quarterback, and maybe that's creating some sort of a thing. I'm guessing for that particular moment against the Rams, he was just anxious against that Rams pass rush and knowing he's got to get set quickly and worried about Aaron Donald and Michael Brockers and those guys. But you just can't have that. I mean, that's on him, and he's got to just go out there and execute.
Right, and to get off, as you mentioned, if they could start getting some better starts to games here, But here's the thing: they, as best as I guess they kind of could, they did kind of settle down. And once again, the drops. And here's the thing: I think I've counted about 6 of them. Now I don't. That's TV view, and I don't think they showed any really good replays on any of those. So I'm kind of at the mercy right now of the TV tape right now when it comes to counting the drops. I can't wait till the first thing when the all 22 drops is I'm going to go back and look at several of those that I think were drops to see how on target those footballs were. But a lot of them, I think you would agree, probably should have been caught in that game. And you deal on it. We're going to say it time and time again, probably for the rest of the season. A fragile offense like that, especially one without any semblance of a consistent running game right now. You got to have those, especially when your quarterback is finally pushing the football down the field on more than 5 yards down the field, and yet you're still dropping some of those. So that's a good recipe for putting your defense out there way too much and going to the well too many times when it comes to that. So the biggest takeaway, especially in through the first 3 quarters of football, I think for me was, man, these guys have got to start holding on to the football on balls that Mason's putting right there on their hands.
That was my thought too, and you can criticize Randy Fichtner for some play calls. I don't think he had a great game. We'll talk about the safety here in a moment. Tomlin takes blame for it, but we'll discuss in a little bit. But even if Fichtner has the same exact play calls in that game, if James Washington doesn't fumble, if Deontay Johnson holds on to the football, if Juju does, is able to make that catch and convert on the first or the second drive of the game, I think it was, Vance catching a third down play that would probably given the Steelers a field goal and 3 more points. This team puts up 20-4 to 27 points in this game, and it wouldn't have been nearly as close as it turned out to be, and given the Rams' repeated chances to win this thing. So, I mean, we just talk about play execution so much, but, that's an obvious game where if you just go out there and finish the play and get back to fundamental football, that game's not nearly as close as it turned out to be.
And, Samuels on the one over on the sideline. Rudolph,
third down.
Right. I think Rudolph did a great job at least getting that ball out and giving Samuels a chance on that. If he catches that, it looks like he's going to make it to the sticks right there. And, to convert on a throw short of his sticks, you got to do that, in that instance. And that's not the kind of that's not the first drop that Samuels likes to take his eyes off that ball and get turned up a little bit too quick. I think we saw him have 1 or 2 maybe like that against against the Ravens as well too. So. Look, I think if we learned anything in this game against the Rams is that the narrative that these receivers aren't getting open is just false, and we've seen that on tape. Now, has Rudolph hit some guys that have been, has missed throwing to some guys that have been open? Yes. Had the receivers not helped him out on quite a few throws now since he's taken over? Yes. It's very clunky. It's very fragile. I mean, that's just going to be the term that we're going to use. And, while it might improve, or at least we hope it does continue to improve moving forward here, it's still going to have some bumps in the road here, and you can kind of smooth out those bumps if you start catching some of these footballs. So, I mean, I hate to lay on that, but, that's what the problem was a lot in that game. I mean, the kid went 22 of 38 for 242 yards and a touchdown. I thought overall, Alex, I thought it probably wasn't a huge step forward for him, but I thought he did some good things in this game, and the stats would have been even better had the receivers held on to some of the balls. Now, with that, you got to stop throwing. He had that one kind of interceptable pass, which I can't wait to see the angle of that one on the end zone view to McDonald that probably Hill should have had there. That was probably the most egregious, I guess, throw of the game that he had there. So He is making, in my opinion, baby steps with, looked better. I don't want to say he was great in the pocket, but he looked better in the pocket. He looks more comfortable pre-snap. Brown Frito, by the way, Brown Frito.
What?
That was audible, right? Brown Frito.
Oh, yeah, I heard something like that, right.
But he looks a lot more comfortable, kind of like he understands what he's seeing.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought he made some good decisions with the football overall. But was it great? No. But was it a baby step forward for him in this game? I thought so.
I'm with you. I thought he played well. The last thought with the receivers is also when times where they caught the ball, they put the ball on the ground. Whether you're talking James Washington, Vance had a fumble, Deontay Johnson off the punt return. So that's all ball security issues too, that you just can't have stuff that can really doom you as a team. Didn't this week, but certainly can going forward. But I thought Rudolph played well. I thought he was decisive. Thought he was better with his reads and his progressions. He was able to fire the football in some tight windows, make some big time throws. Stood tall in the face of pressure. Didn't look as frenetic in the pocket the way that I thought could happen against the Rams pass rush that's pretty fierce. So, I'll have to go back and evaluate it the way that we talked about last week and said we got to go through the tape and look at it a little bit closer, which we will be able to do before Wednesday's show. But I thought it was a good performance, and the issues for that offense largely were not his fault. They were the issue with the players around him not catching the ball or putting the ball on the ground.
The key thing when it comes to him is now he's pushing the ball down. In fact, I think, and I know Next Gen Stats might have a little, and I wonder where the difference is coming in on the intended air yards and the completed air yards. I had him at just over 7. I had him really at a matching number. I think 7.05 for intended air yards versus completed air yards. You give me that. But Next Gen Stats, I think, had them at 5 point something. So I got to find out where I'm different on their number. But the fact that at least the intended air yards and the completed air yards doesn't have a huge gap in it, for starters, is a positive. And B, that number at least is growing. It's not like 3.5 or 4.2. It's at least over 5. The closer that you can get that thing up into 7, both intended and completed, and there not be a wide gap in it, it shows statistical, at least from a statistical element, as progress there. And I think those kind of stats match what we saw, on tape. Now, obviously, did he have any really big, deep throws down the field that he completed? More than 20 yards. Did he have any that he threw more than 20 yards down the field? Do you remember?
The one to Washington, 20. It was probably borderline, that dig route that he fumbled. I don't know what the distance was on that.
Let me sort this real quick.
I'm guessing right around 20, maybe give or take 5 yards.
I have him down as attempting 4 passes that went more than 20 yards in the air. I have him completing 1 to Juju Smith-Schuster.
Was that the pass interference one on the right sideline?
That was defensive offsides declined.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's the one where he made that kind of a diving fall and catch along the right sideline. Okay. What was the one to Washington? How far was that one?
The one to Washington probably was just a little bit shy of that. Let me see here. He had one deep one, 17-yard distance to Deontay Johnson that netted 30 yards, a distance of 17 air yards. He had an incomplete to, the Washington one, 19 yards air distance with 15 yak on it.
Gotcha. So yeah, right borderline on that. That was a great throw. I thought his pocket presence, to go back to that, I thought Rudolph, because he struggled the last 2 weeks of being able to climb in the pocket, hitch up, and drive the football. I thought he did that really well repeatedly Sunday, including that throw to Washington.
I think there was 2 or 3 throws that I thought, man, could he have stepped, mechanics-wise, does he need to step into them a little bit more,
Do you remember what those ones were?
No, I'll have to go back and through. Okay. I just remembered it being in my notes from the live go through just to check on that kind of stuff. I didn't put it down a distance or anything.
The one to Vance that was that Hank concept over the middle that Vance fumbled on at the end, that one made me nervous audibly when Rudolph threw it. I don't remember if you remember that play or not. That was a dicey throw. He fit it in there, which, hey, kudos to him. But that was one that made me nervous on that particular throw. But I thought overall Rudolph had one of his better games of the year.
Yeah, and look, I mean, he's not a finished product. I mean, there's still going to be bumps in the road. But once again, I came away almost like I came away at the end of, well, a lot better than I felt after the game against the Dolphins. I think the big thing that stuck out to me most about the game against the Dolphins was how he kind of grew from the bad in it. You know, if you go through that game play by play, obviously, as I said at the time, yes, you probably don't have a warm, fuzzy feeling. It was just the end. The overall aspect of how he fought through it was the most impressive. Now, I felt a lot better coming out of this one, and probably the best one, other than maybe him filling in at the half at Seattle there, right? As far as how he played overall in this one. So, no, we're not going to put him in the Hall of Fame yet or Pro Bowl or anything like that. But as long as he continues to make baby steps like this. Look, make no mistake about it. The Steelers won that game Sunday because of their defense. They've won a lot of games this year because of their defense. What we're looking for is this offense to start complementing the defense a little bit more. Okay, and that next step from where they are right now to where the little bit more needs to be is still kind of big. You know, you gotta put together, and as you continue to state, the start of games needs to be better. That'll save you a lot of probably grief right there by just getting into some sort of a rhythm earlier in games. Obviously, a running game would help in that, but being able to maybe put together a long drive once a game, okay, that even if it's a 75-yard drive that ends in a field goal, at least move the ball consistently throughout, convert a couple of third downs, and then on top of it, obviously, you want to convert. You get inside that red zone, man, especially with the fragileness of this offense right now. You don't know how many times you're going to be down there, so you got to stick it into the end zone. And props to that throw to James Washington. Probably not a perfect throw, and I'm sure some people, especially on the Rams side or Chris Myers, will question about whether or not James Washington actually got down in that. But look, it was ruled a touchdown, so at least they finished that one out there. By the way, maybe it's just I don't know. Normally that kind of stuff doesn't bother me when listening to a national broadcast because at the same time I'm trying to listen to a Steelers radio broadcast, which is obviously slanted and all like that. Was it me or was Chris Myers? Is Chris Myers a Rams fan or what?
Felt like he was wearing a golf jersey up in the booth. Yeah, I'm not one to criticize that stuff too much either, but I thought even bigger than that, the whole Fox production was terrible. I mean, they were missing cuts to the start of plays, and it just replays that were poor. Some of the replay, like the footage and the quality of the picture was really poor. And if I wasn't doing deep, I'd be working in sports production right now. So sometimes I look at those things with that eye, and I just thought the production, just in general on Fox, was a mess.
Well, like I said, on the drops, do we have any good angles of any of the drops outside of maybe vignettes to start the game?
The fumble that Tomlin challenged on the first drive, they didn't show you one good angle of that play. I don't understand. I know it's a minor point. Who cares? But I just thought the broadcast was pretty terrible.
Yeah, I couldn't help but think, my God, I mean, I'm obviously not going to write about this. You're not going to write about this or anything like that. But maybe a national guy, I don't know. I'm sure I'm not alone in that, but it sure stuck out like Chris Myers is a Rams fan. I don't know if he is. Someone told me on Twitter they think he is, but I don't know for sure. I'm not going to spend time past ranting about it right now.
Yeah, I mean, they just got a lot of stuff wrong, just saying names wrong and just things that were just flat out inaccurate. But anyway, back to the game. With Rudolph, again, I thought the offensive struggles in this game at least were more on other guys and not on Rudolph. I was happy to say they converted in the red zone. That they were 1-2 in the red zone. The other one was that long drive that resulted in the field goal where Tomlin went forward on 4th and 1. But I was at least happy to see them get one touchdown out of that and be 50%. That's better than where they've been for the year, better than where they've been for the last several terrible games. But yeah, you got to have better run game, and you got to be able to convert and be more consistent.
All right, the fourth down. I guess we should start going a little bit more in depth here on some of the play calls or situations here.
Yeah, the 4th-and-1 call. I mean, that would work, and it's easy to say, yeah, that was a good call because it worked. But did you like the call in hindsight, or at the time?
I thought it was from the moment he rolled out. I thought what, and I saw Edmonds. I thought, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, that play was a mess. That play probably shouldn't have worked because, A, they broke the huddle with about 10 seconds left. They did a really bad job of breaking the huddle. Also, real quick with the defense. Defense did a good job matching pace and tempo by the Rams, and they tried to turn up the tempo a lot in that game, and the Steelers overall responded well. But back to the offense. So that 4th-and-1 play, so you break the huddle with about 10 seconds left, and it's already a chaos coming out of the huddle. The snap between Pouncey and Rudolph, it looked a little funky. I'll have to go back and check it, but it felt like there was a little bit of a bobble. Then you're rolling out to the right. You got Vanette and Edmonds in the same exact spot, and then you're trusting Trey Edmonds, who has hands that are not good, to catch the football. And so that was a play that definitely was the one that could have fallen apart and looked terrible, and a lot of criticism Tomlin's way, but it worked, and hey, that's all that matters.
Yeah, it's one of those results biased things, I'm sure. I mean, if you go through it there and he drops it or whatever, the play doesn't work. You don't get a first down there, and the Rams take over. And they go down and score, or field position shifts dramatic, whatever. Then it's definitely a what in the hell were they doing kind of moment. So unfortunately, some things you try to look at and you try not to be results biased on, as best you can or as best as you and I can. But I was. The moment he came out and started rolling out, and you started to see that how that thing might develop there, I didn't like it. But hey, he's got cojones to go for. I'm not sure. I would.
I'll admit it. I would have punted it if I was Tomlin in that situation. I would have sent the punt team out with how well the defense had been playing, how well my punt team had been, and if you fail there, the Rams are basically field goal range in a 2-point game. I'm just being honest. That was me. I would have punted it.
Yeah, I would have too, and I don't know what residual that might have down the road. Maybe showing confidence in your offense there. Maybe it'll have positive effect, down the road there. But yeah, I think I would have punted there. I'm looking at these third down distances that the Steelers faced throughout the game. 3rd and 9, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 14, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 13, 3rd and 20, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 4. 3rd and 2, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 10, and 3rd and 15. And, I think you got to kind of, Mike Tomlin said earlier in the week, stay out of those shark-infested waters, right? Well, They sure enjoyed swimming with some sharks in that game for a little while. And I guess that maybe it's a good time. Well, let's hit the safety here.
Yeah, Tomlin took the blame, and I don't know if he's just covering for Fichtner on that play or if that was him. I'll take him at his word when he says that's his play call. But the idea
I won't.
You won't? Okay. I mean, I understand why you would you would assume that Tomlin's just covering there, but I mean he said it, so I'll take him at his word, I guess. But either way, regardless of whoever called it, just a bad play call. You can't run play action in your own end zone with a young quarterback against that pass rush. You just can't do it. You can't have your quarterback take his eyes off the football. You want to pass there, you want to take a deep shot, fine, I'm cool with that. But play action, no way.
By him saying it's his call, he heard it through the headset and he just didn't overrule it, I guess, is probably. That's the way. I mean, I just am having a hard time picturing Tomlin calling out a play call in that situation.
Yeah, maybe he didn't call the play call. Maybe he just told Fichtner, hey, let's take a shot here. Maybe that was the idea.
All right, maybe it was. I mean, would Ben do something like that? Whether would Ben call his own number in that situation there? Yeah, and the ball get out,
Mm-hmm. I have no problem with him taking a shot there and running, trying to do a big pass out of a heavy run personnel. I'm cool with that. You just can't have your quarterback take his eyes off the field, which is what you do on play action.
Right. And that was the big no definitely no. Poor Johnny Holton. We're gonna get a Johnny Holton reception this year, and it's going to be spectacular. It's going to be real, and it's going to be spectacular, Alex. Once we
It's a
get
lot of
one.
Seinfeld references. You had that one. Tom had one in his Tom's 10 takes. No coop for you for Cooper Cup, which was really good.
That is very good.
Yeah.
No coop for you.
Right.
I try to get creative in some of my 7
Mm-hmm.
keys to spice it up, but man, I wish I would have come up with that one now.
Right. No, I like yours too. You guys have had some good Cooper Cup references, but the reason why we mentioned Johnny Holton that play, for people who didn't know, that play was intended to go to Johnny Holton. Rudolph confirmed that in his post-game interview. So I hope that first catch is worth the wait.
You got Aaron freaking Donald on the other side over there, man. Never turn your back to him deep down in that situation. Who you putting that sack on? I mean, who you putting that sack on? Tomlin?
Yeah, it'll probably be half on the play call. I know DeCastro did look like he got beat on that play. Now, again, if you're selling the run, maybe your technique's going to be different. I'll have to go back and look at it. So DeCastro did look like he was the man responsible for blocking Donald on that play. But again, I'm just not running play action in that situation, just not risking it.
Do me a favor when you write that up and put a quarter of that on Ryan Switzer too, please.
Yeah, that starts with the punt return too. And I'm fine with him not fair catching. I'm glad he didn't fair catch it, but just get vertical, my man. This back and forth horizontal stuff, it's just not good. You just can't find a punt return. Deontay Johnson fumbles one, and Ryan Switzer goes nowhere, and it just continues to be an issue.
Surely you have seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, right?
Nope. I know the title, but
you're going the wrong way.
How old is that movie?
It's old. It's back when the Earth was cooling, I think. Yeah. Back when I was burning my feet on the on the Earth. That's another one to add. Funny movie with Steve Martin and John, the great John Candy, in that one. So, but yeah. Back to the safety there. You're asking for it. You talk about not swimming in shark-infested waters, and you slice his Achilles open and put him in the water.
Yeah, there were too many penalties in that game. There were a lot of stuff that backed you up. First down. I mean, the play, the offensive series after the fourth down fake that failed really kind of summed that up, where you get the penalty on Villanueva, which may have been a bad call. I know the Fox broadcast said that might not have been the best call, and I tend to agree. But either way, you backed yourself up. You put yourself in 1st and 20, 2nd and 18 just too often, and that inevitably leads itself to 3rd and forever.
Man, just get out of the shadow of your own goalpost at that point right there. Just run straight forward or run one of them quick outs or something to Deontay. Just get some breathing room. Mike Tomlin said he's been happy with the punting, which he should be, and Barry had a good game up until that point. Just get the hell out of there,
Well, again, I disagree a little bit. I'm okay with taking the shot, trying to make a big play, but I just don't think play action's the way to do it.
Yeah, I'm not. I understand why they did it, obviously, because I mean, if you got the coverage looking all like that, and but still give yourself a little bit of room there. But yeah, I mean, adding on top of it that you're going to run play action in that situation, you're just doubly asking for it.
Yeah, definitely. What else with the offense? The run game, just
what did you think about? Look, you and I both kind of questioned, questioning before this game started about
the O-line shuffle.
Yeah, the O-line shuffle. No, sorry, I just got a text there, but the shuffling of the offensive line. Man, why? Are they just going to do this just because of Aaron Donald? As much as Aaron Donald, I got the overall general consensus of it. I didn't necessarily agree with it because it kind of goes against what they've done in the past. Moving multiple players there. But I guess overall it went out. It came off all right.
Yeah, all's well that ends well. And, I was worried about it, but they looked to do a pretty good job. I thought our core four played pretty well, and Fowler represented himself well at guard, and Tomlin talked about it in his Tuesday presser, just saying we want to get 3 tackles out there and just be able to handle their pass rush was basically the reason why they went with the move they did, and it looked like it worked overall. I mean, they were sacked 3 times, but I don't know how much of that is on those guys or on the move itself. So a core four for his first time he's playing since the preseason, I thought he played pretty well.
Yeah, I haven't dissected it down that far yet. Obviously,
I haven't either yet.
Obviously, when we get to all 22, I mean, we're going to be burning the midnight oil tonight, looking at a couple of things here when it comes to that. So, Aaron Donald didn't surprise me. I'll tell you that.
No, he played like Aaron Donald.
Blowing up an early kind of power run, and yeah, I realize David DeCastro's trying to get out of there and block it, but he still got blown up anyway by Donald and pushed back into the ball carrier in that specific situation there. So
well, speaking of that, I mean the run game, obviously you get James Conner back, and that's going to help out a lot. But I mean they average 1.6 ish yards per carry, just not good enough. No big runs. Didn't do a good job of converting short yard situations. The blockers obviously got to block. They got to do a better job. But I got to see running backs create, make guys miss, push the pile forward, do something. It just has not been varsity football.
There were a few times where I was just saying, don't try to get fancy here. Just turn it up. Trey Edmonds, a couple of times I thought maybe zigged or zagged when he should have just been full steam ahead and try to run somebody over. Kind of look. That's not his game. He's a straight ahead power back there, and it goes back to the way we kind of started talking about the offense here. We'll see what James Conner maybe can offer this team without Rosie Nix in this game against the Browns, but they have got, if they want to start taking some of this pressure off Mason Rudolph, they're going to have to start running the ball more successfully, because you cannot continue to be in third and long situations with this young quarterback.
Absolutely, got to get better. And I haven't studied the Browns too closely yet. I don't know what the numbers are, but they got a good defensive line with Olivier Vernon, Myles Garrett, Larry Ogunjobi in the middle, one of the best young emerging interior defensive linemen in football. So I don't imagine it gets a whole lot easier against the Browns on a short week.
Yeah, I mean, look, you got a short week. You hit it. You got a short week to prepare. It's going to be tough for this offense to get ready for this, and I assume running the football will attempt to be a big-ish kind of part of that. So, that might be the difference in the game here. You just can't let Rudolph stay back there and try to attempt to convert third and sevens throughout the game.
Yeah, lean on power. Power was the best run scheme yesterday, and if that's what it takes, pulling DeCastro 10 times a game, I'm cool with it.
I would have liked to see what would have maybe happened on that Tony Brooks Tony Brooks James run had he not tripped over Pouncey.
Was it Pouncey or his own 2 feet? Someone there, I got conflicting things. I guess it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, Pouncey was coming backwards, I'll tell you that. So
okay. He had the one run that was called back on the Villanueva hold, that first play off of the failed fake punt, which I think was 10 or 15 yards. But a little juice. We'll see if he keeps his roster spot too. Just if you get Conner back, we'll see if they make a move or not, because they still have a million backs on the roster.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you get Conner back and you don't have Switzer, what are you going to do there?
That's a good point. Yeah, Brooks James did have one kick return, or at least I think he was a touchback. But yeah, you might keep him for another week.
Speaking of going north and south, man, time for the special teams part of the show.
Yeah, what do you want to start this thing at? I mean,
penalties. Those the first. I don't know how many, first of the 5 or whatnot. I think maybe 4 of them were, or something along those lines. Kind of silly stuff too.
Spillane. It's called twice on the punt coverage team.
Right. That obviously is unforced errors there, and man, just catch the ball and run straight.
Not a hard concept. Yeah, Deontay Johnson had the muff where he's trying to dance and break every tackle. I mean, I get trying to do something at the start, make the first guy miss, but you got to go down at some point, dude, and just know, let's just take the ball and get the offense on the field. Switzer going east and west, never getting vertical, results in the safety. The return game, and I wrote about this over the weekend, it's been among the worst in football, and it did not get any better on Sunday.
Yeah, and you're not going to probably have, or you're likely not going to have Nix again this week, and who knows what's going to happen with Chickalo this week, and heck, you might not have Switzer this week. We'll have to see how that plays out there as well too. So, just catch it and run straight. That's what it's become to me now.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I hope Tomlin didn't tell on himself for the Switzer injury report, saying it wasn't a back when he was listed for a back injury last week. I don't know if he caught that or not.
Originally called it rib with him, right. Didn't he?
He called it a rib. The team called it a back. Tomlin was asked about the back injury, and Tomlin said, I don't know about what you're talking about, a back injury he suffered last week. So I'm just I'm just saying, they don't get. He's already been fined once this year. But anyway, return game, it's just not been good enough. At least the other components of special teams, Jordan Berry's having a career year. Chris Boswell's been perfect. And that fake punt, you knew it was coming.
Right? Oh, you told us. You told us. Yeah. Fire Danny Smith, hire Alex Kozora.
Well, listen, I mean, Tomlin said it today. No one runs more fakes than the Rams. It's not like they were the team that's done it once over the last 3 seasons. This was some sort of super nuanced thing that you had to look through, page 1,000 in the booklet to know this. They run more fakes than anybody. So, and they tried to one early in the game, and the Steelers responded. So credit to Danny Smith and the company for being prepared on that play. But really, it's not shocking because, the Rams run fakes more than anybody in football.
Yeah, I think that's a demerit for McVay and company there. The element of surprise has been gone, and shame on the Steelers had to have been caught on that.
Right. Right, and that's how you get Trey Edmonds to have an interception. The first running back to pick off a pass in 31 years. Kenny Gamble with the Chiefs back in '88, I think against Seattle. Which maybe Keith Butler part of that team, the Seattle team, the last one to do it. So yeah, Trey Edmonds now has as many career interceptions as his brother Terrell. But, I mean, that was great coverage and also great pressure on that play, too. Vince Williams, Jordan Dangerfield, Williams especially getting pressure that kind of forced the ball out, an awkward throw to let Edmonds have the interception.
And Vince Williams didn't play many snaps, obviously, in this game, but he stuck out when he was on the field.
Right, 14 snaps. Love to see him get more time. But I know, again, if Barron's going to be the green dot, you don't want to take Devin Bush off the field. I guess Williams gets short end of the stick. But his run defense is excellent and did take that personal foul penalty off recovering the fumble that Deontay Johnson muffed, which you can't have. You can't have a personal foul there. But at least he did recover the football. And Williams is an energy and tone setter guy. Just don't get a flag for it.
I forgot to go back and look at what transpired there on that.
I don't know. I think it was John with somebody. Maybe he said something. I don't know what he did, but he got flagged for it. And you can't have that.
Okay, so we've talked about the old offensive line shuffle. We've talked about the drops. We've talked about lack of running game. What are we missing here?
I mean, Jordan, I know I mentioned it, but Jordan Berry, I think, is having a career year. For the first part of the game was a 58-yard net. Johnny Holton, great job running that one down. I thought Burns has done decent as a gunner this year. Special teams in that regard, I think kicking and punting has been really strong and nearly avoided a block on the one, but they did avoid it, so that was good.
Were you surprised they sent Zerline out there for that long one at Heinz Field, or what?
Yes and no. I mean, obviously, what was a 56-yarder at Heinz Field is the odds are very, very low. I think that would have been a record at Heinz Field, but Zerline has one of the game's best legs, so I'm not surprised they did it because they got a lot of trust in their guy to kick from 55+, but at Heinz Field, it's a different story.
What did you think about the deep pass into the end zone there? You knew it was coming. You just didn't know who. I thought it was going to be. Was that Reynolds on that one with Edmonds in coverage?
The fourth down play?
Or was it Kupp?
I'm sorry, you're talking about the fourth down?
Yeah, the late.
I think it was Reynolds. It wasn't Kupp. I don't know what his pass interference is today. So I would just cross my fingers that I wouldn't see a flag, and they didn't call it, and I'm glad they didn't. I mean, I don't think it was pass interference, but I've said it wasn't pass interference before, and they've thrown the flag. I've said that was pass interference, and they haven't thrown the flag. So who am I to say?
Yeah, Chris Myers thought it was pass interference.
Yeah. Shocked.
But you knew it was. That was the guy. I was worried about Reynolds because I just felt like McVay was kind of trying to lull him to sleep there.
Mm-hmm. And he's a vertical threat. Reynolds is.
Especially kind of the Steelers couple of series there defensively looked like they was just let's lay back and not let them throw it over our heads, giving up some yardage there, but obviously got some key third down stops when they needed to there. Man, I mean to hold any opposing offense in the NFL to 3 points is huge, but to hold that offense to 3 points is doubly huge in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this defense has done it twice this year, against the Bengals and against the Rams, and I imagine that's a pretty small club of teams that can say that.
Okay, 5-4, how you feeling?
Pretty good. I mean, I said these last 2 weeks were going to be a big litmus test for the team, and I know I've picked against them, and I've been wrong about that because I just had distrust in the offense, and I think people understood and still see that. Know this offense is a work in progress, but if you get James Conner back and the way this defense keeps playing, I keep saying, can they keep this pace up? Are they going to finally win? And I'm sure they'll have one off game at some point going forward. But, man, this defense is just playing lights out. 26 takeaways. Are on pace for about 58, 59 sacks on the season. TJ Watt on pace for 16 or 17. It just does not get any better than that.
All right. How about you let me tell you about my bookie?
Yeah, hit me.
All right, we got a big game tonight too. I don't know how much time I'm going to be able to spend on it because I'm sure they'll withhold the all 22 from us until after the game is over. So I'll probably get to pay a little bit of attention to 49ers versus the Seahawks tonight, and I might be paying attention to my bookie as well too. Are you the type of fan that knows football so well that you could choose any game and call it? Well, my bookie is the place for you because they let you turn all of your sports knowledge into cash in your wallet. Between football season, NBA, and the start of college basketball season, and the NHL too, it's time to get off the sideline and get in on the action with my bookie. If you're the kind of guy or girl who likes to bet a little and win a lot, try one of their parlays. For instance, if you like a couple of the big favorites this week, parlays are perfect because they let you bet on multiple games together for a much bigger payout. You can even put a parlay together tonight, with the over and under and against the spread lines. A lot of various ways to do that, even with one game left in week 10 here. So if you're going to bet this season, do the smart thing and go to mybookie.ag because no one gives you more ways to win. Tired of watching the game from the couch with nothing to gain? MyBookie wants to get your mind off everything else and back on the game. If you join right now, MyBookie will match your deposit halfway, all the way up to $1,000. That means if you deposit $2,000, you get an extra $1,000 in free money to play with. Just use promo code TERRIBLE to activate the offer. Once again, that's promo code TERRIBLE to take advantage of MyBookie's generous sign-up offer. Visit mybookie.ag today. You play, you win, you get paid.
All right, Dave, let's get to some redeemables here to close out the show.
All right, these should be good. I don't know how many we got, but I know we have some here. Let's start off here with Justin Ballard. Good morning, Dave and Alex. First off, I'm very much enjoying watching this defense come together as well as seeing the growth of some of these young guys on offense. With Ben going out, I felt like and still largely feel like any Super Bowl chance is gone. However, I have remained excited since that injury to see what we have in Rudolph and see what this team can do. This winning streak is impressive and a lot of fun to watch, so I hate to nitpick, but why on earth is Switzer still back there returning punts? I know this coaching staff trusts him, but I struggle to see the value. I think if he did anything other than what he did do last night, we might be in a better situation that helps avoid taking that safety. So I have two questions. One, what would it take for the Steelers to cut him? Two, would Switzer ever land on another NFL roster if he did? I'll take the back end of that question. Would he ever land on another NFL roster if he did? I kind of doubt he would, Alex.
I think he would be in a camp somewhere, maybe compete for a spot. Would he make a team? I don't know. And to the first point, what would it take to cut him? I'm not sure. I think part of the
I took this question, would he land on an NFL roster the rest of the season?
Yeah, that's probably fair. I'd probably not. Then I would agree with you. I think the other factor is why you keep seeing Switzer back there is you just have really no other options. I mean, Deontay Johnson's struggling. I think he's got, 2 muff punts this year already, and in the kick return game, there aren't a lot of options. So they just don't have really anyone else to turn to. I think this is the reason why he's still back there.
Yeah, he hasn't been cut yet, and we'll see what happens with his back injury and all like that. And kind of thing, but it's hard unless he goes to IR or something like that. Mm-hmm. It is kind of hard to imagine him going anywhere at this point. I mean, well, look, right. Justin, where if you listen to the show, where I stand on Switzer.
Would you draft a return guy late next year, day 3 pick? I would.
Well, here's the thing: you're probably gonna need to draft yet another receiver anyway, just in case, right?
Yeah.
And obviously you're not probably gonna be drafting one in the first round, right? So any the round 3, round 4, can you get a guy that maybe can handle that skill set? Possibly. I'd look into it. That's for sure.
Yep, me too.
But that's where we come in on that. And as far as the super look, Justin, I think you have the right idea here. Very much enjoy watching this defense come together as well as seeing the growth of some of these young guys on offense. That's exactly where everybody listening to this podcast should be right now. It is literally a game by game basis right now on this thing. I'm having fun breaking down this defense every week. I'm having fun breaking down Rudolph every week, but reservations for anything else outside that? No. I mean, let's see. This team's 5-4. They got a chance now. Let's see what they do this week against Cleveland, talk about, and then move on to the Bengals game and so on and so forth.
Yeah, they have more than a chance. They're driving the bus right now. They're in control of their own destiny, like I said earlier. So they've gone from they're out of the picture to they have a chance. Now they're right in this thing.
All right, from Will Fernandez. Happy Victory Monday, Dave and Alex. As much as I've criticized Keith Butler earlier in the season, yes, I wanted him fired. His defense yesterday played lights out. This is one of the better defensive performances I've watched in quite some time. I was concerned about how the secondary would match up against Cooper Kupp, and they shut him down. Love the aggressiveness of the secondary. One of Joe Hayden's best games as a Steeler was Minka Fitzpatrick, the missing piece in unlocking this defense. It's hard to argue against that statement. I'll tell you what, he certainly is in the right place at the right time and has one of them ball magnets in him, even though he says it ain't no ball magnet. It sure appears to be that ball just hops right in his hands sometimes. But as we said, that's not probably happening by accident there. Joe Hayden had a great game, as you stated, Will. How much does Keith Butler have to do with this? Look, we don't know the calls. We're not looking at the play sheet and all like that. But I'll tell you this: they with those blue chippers they have on that defensive side of the ball, they ought to have something to show for it right now.
Sure, and I do want to give Butler some credit here because I don't want to be the guy that blames him when things are bad and never praises him when things are good. You got to have a good game plan overall to have this kind of defensive dominance. You got to have a good game plan overall to be able to shut down Cooper Kupp the way you shut him down. So I don't want to pretend like Butler's not helping at all. But as you said, when you add all the talent and all the investments in this defense that we've gone through, and everyone knows the story about how many first rounders and high pedigree guys are on this team, you better have a good output. So that's the big part of it was this defense got better when they've added the talent to it, but I'm sure Butler is also doing things that's helping maximize this group.
All right, from Richard Hudspeth writes, "Hey, David Knox, love the show, and thanks for informing as well as entertaining us. I amuse you. Oh, okay, we amuse you, Richard. Let's see. One, I wrote an email question a while back in which I stated this defense was going to be the best since '08. Everyone doubted it. I'm not sure who the everyone is. I mean, there was reason to believe that this defense should be better. I don't know if right out of the chute after the game against the Patriots that we thought this would be on 08's level for sure. Minka obviously has played a big part in this. And look, it's a good defense right now. The stats back it up. I don't know. Let's see how the rest of this season pulls out. And maybe we are comparing that to that 08 defense was good, though, man.
Right? A lot of similarities, though, from then to
now. When it comes to Switzer, what would it cost the team to move on from Switzer? And as the Dez Bryant hype builds, do they have cap room to consider a vet minimum contract? They have the cap. They have the cap space to go out and sign, veteran minimum guy. That's not the issue here, and it costs really nothing to cut Switzer either. So that's not the cap situation is not the holdup here. I mean, are you still entertaining any thought to bringing Dez Bryant in?
No, I've never entertained the thought of Dez Bryant, never entertained the thought of Josh Gordon. And the reason why is because Deontay Johnson's making plays, James Washington's making plays. And even before they were doing that 2 weeks ago, I said you got to give these guys time to develop and grow and get reps and make mistakes and get better and see what you have in guys like Deontay Johnson and James Washington. If you bring in someone like Dez or Gordon, they're going to take those snaps away. They're not going to develop the guys you invested, second and third round draft picks into. So no, I never entertained the idea of bringing Josh Gordon. I never entertained the idea of bringing Dez in, and I still don't, because now you're seeing those guys like Washington and Johnson, well, I still have struggles and his ball security concerns. You're seeing those guys make plays, and I want to see that continue.
Me neither, either, however you want to say it. There. Look, you want to bring anybody in right now, bring a guy off of, some of them might get waived here or something that has kick return or punt return abilities. That's what I'd be, that also plays wide receiver or something. That's what I would be up for right now at this point. If you're going to do anything along those lines, not a guy that's going to come in and, that you're going to hope plays 20 snaps a game.
Right. Yeah. If you're bringing anybody in that receiver group, I'm with you. It'd be some sort of return guy, and it probably won't happen this week on a short week.
Probably not this week. You are correct. From Bob Turner. Well, you got your 25 turnovers in 9 games. That defense is really developing into a top unit now without Tuitt. It'll be interesting to see where they end up. Hargrave is probably gone. Tuitt will be back, but has an injury history. It'll be interesting to see what what they do with Dupree. If he goes, they won't have the first-round draft pick to draft. Bob's going to go all Debbie Downer on us, ain't he? First-round draft pick, drafted outside linebacker in the first round. T.J. Watt certainly proved to be a great pick in the draft. Atlanta moved up to pick 26 to take Tack McKinley. Dallas took Taco Charlton at pick 28. Green Bay traded out. Pick 29 took Kevin King. The Browns traded up, blah, 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 take David Njoku. So the Steelers were fortunate that TJ was on the board at pick 30. It is difficult to judge Rudolph with all the drive, killing drops and fumbles by the receivers and backs. Ben, in his first year, had Ward and Burris, yet they're mostly ball control team. The run blocking now is also very suspect. The remaining schedule isn't that tough, so better ball security could help them reach the playoffs one at a time. A short week and going to Cleveland, it'll be tough if Connor can't go. Have a great week. Best wishes, Bob. Okay.
Yeah, I don't really disagree with a lot of that stuff. Will be, but I would say is that yes, you don't have a first round pick to potentially replace Dupree if you even lose him. We don't know that, but I think you can live with that when you see Minkah Fitzpatrick is 2020 first round pick. So he looks like a really good choice.
I just want to get through this season right now.
Yeah, amen to that.
Jay Barbardi writes, I've never seen a team have so many drops and fumbles and come out on top, not to mention 8 points given to the defense. I did think Edmonds had DPI, got bailed out somehow. I think we got that complete game from Rudolph you were talking about settling in. I'm not going to say it was a complete game from Rudolph. Are you, Alex?
No, I don't think it was a complete game, but I think it was one of his better games. And again, I think the box score doesn't do his performance justice for all the drops and missed opportunities his receivers made.
He goes on to write, anyhow, has Colbert yet won GM of the Year award? To just go over it real quick, the last couple years alone, trades involved Marty B, AB, Dobbs, Bush, Rudolph, and Fitz all look brilliant. Going back, he's built teams that have gone to 3 Super Bowls, including 05, 08 defenses, which rank among the best units ever assembled. Those teams all aged out. And now he's rebuilt the D from the ground up into yet another dominant group. How many GMs can boast such? Then there's the success with wide receivers and building an O-line that extended Ben's career. It's nothing short of remarkable. I mean, when was the last time the Steelers roster lacked a future Hall of Fame candidate, even if you exclude Ben? Kevin Colbert is consistently undervalued by national media. If he'd have just doggone drafted Kittle.
I don't think either of us ever been really Colbert detractors the way that some others have been.
I mean, look, you gotta for some of these draft picks, okay, yeah, I mean you're not gonna hit them all, but you gotta give them credit on some of these undrafted guys as well too,
Mm-hmm. I mean, the reader made a good point. What's the last bad trade Colbert's made, like objectively, where he lost the deal? I'm not sure. Levi Brown, I don't know.
Yeah, but even that wasn't that a conditional.
That was conditional,
pick?
Right. So yeah, I mean that's I don't know. I'll have to go back to the research, but yeah, when's the last truly bad trade? I mean, there's been some bad moves that he's made. Obviously, free agent hasn't had the success you want it to, but from a trade standpoint, I don't think there's really been one.
All right, hotel guy Chris writes in Danny Smith question. Danny Smith question for the podcast. Question for the Danny Smith supporter. I'm guessing that's you.
I'm guessing that's me.
How can we be so prepared for fake punts, generally good at getting pressure to block kicks and punts, but consistently awful at opening lanes for our returners?
I mean, that's a good question, and I've been as critical as anybody about the return game. The kick return game I've hounded Danny Smith on for years now. There's been a player execution issue for sure. I think I've documented that well, and I just wish I had a better answer for you. They got to be better, and they got to turn it around. And also, I'm thinking about my last question. J.J. Wilcock, I guess Justin Gilbert, those are probably some bad trades by Kevin Colbert, but overall the trades have been, more wins than losses. And yeah, to the Danny Smith stuff, I don't know. I think there are a lot of player execution issues on the kick return game that we don't talk about. We want to focus on Switzer and Danny Smith and just say how those guys suck. But if you really look at the plays and why they're failing, it's a lot of blocking up front that's not giving your return guy a chance to make a play.
Ken writes in, hey, Dave and Alex, Victory Monday. My name is Ken. I just started listening to Yin's podcast this year during my workday. Your Steelers coverage is the best and delves deeper than any other football podcast. My question is, when was the last time the Steelers gave up a safety in consecutive weeks and still came out with both W's? Not sure if it's ever happened, but came across my mind yesterday after the game. This was a huge line in the sand for the Steelers defense. I'll take the W any ways we can get it. Thank you for both fantastic coverage. Happy Monday. Happy Monday to you, Ken. Do you have the answer on that, Alex?
partially. The last part's going to trip me up a little bit. I don't know if I'll have time to get it during the show. The last time the Steelers had safeties in back-to-back games was December 15th and 22nd, 1996. Mike Tomlin sacked and called for intentional grounding. Steelers won one of those games, I think, against they played Carolina and the 49ers. I don't know which one they won and which one they lost, but they went 1-1. Last time they won both those games, I'll have to dig into that a little. I can find that answer for you if it's ever happened before. But 96 was the last time they were back-to-back safeties in consecutive games.
From Benjamin writes in, hello, Dave and Alex. Last night's game had me excited as we saw Mason finally get James Washington involved. It seemed Mason was letting go of the ball before receivers were hitting their cuts. I really thought he showed significant improvement last night. How do you guys think Mason is progressing? As always, thanks for all you do for Steeler Nation. Look, Ben, we have been trying to attack this thing with Mason just on a game-by-game basis and trying to reserve judgment for the big picture until after the season's over here. But I think, as we said earlier in the podcast, I think you're seeing tiny improvements with him. And the bad thing is everybody's going to continue to try to compare him to Ben and Ben's rookie season. Okay, that you can't really do that. It's unfair for both those players to do that. But I think we saw him take some babies. It would have been interesting to watch this game play out yesterday had these receivers caught the footballs, for starters. Mm-hmm. Still, there was the bad throw, that probably interceptable throw. I don't know how much you want to put the safety on him, a play call thing. Maybe put a young quarterback down there in that end and turn his back to Aaron Donald. You probably get what you have coming to you in that situation there. We'll have to see what the All-22 says about maybe him not seeing or missing a guy. To me, has there been kind of a turn the corner moment yet, Alex? I'm not ready to go there. I'm just ready to say I came away with him from that game yesterday as him having another step forward in his progression. That was positive.
I am too. And the thing I admire most about Rudolph right now is that nothing rattles him. Even these terrible starts where it's easy for a young quarterback to have that here we go again type feeling and play like it. He doesn't. He just kind of gets out there with a short-term memory and goes out there the next possession and next quarter and next drive and tries to get the job done. So I think what's impressive to me about Rudolph, and I said this before, I think it was evident in the Miami game, his mental makeup, his poise, and his toughness are all really key traits any potentially good quarterback has to have.
I'm not sure we're going to get. What's the chances of us getting to a moment this year, Alex, where we go, aha, there it is?
Well, I said before, I hope he has that one signature game this year. I think that's reasonable to expect for a quarterback over a span of 12 games. If he's really going to be somebody that, could be a starter long term, I think you'd probably see a signature game at least at one point this season.
You don't want to see him make stupid mistakes, okay? Mm-hmm. You want to see him at least be able to push the football down the field, which he's starting to do a lot more of now, you know? Just decision-making, footwork in the pocket. All these things got to come together. And look, I think a running game, any semblance of a running game better than it's been, the last couple of games will help a little bit in that. So, look, it's going to be a tough test against the Browns. I know the Browns are the Browns, and the Browns do Browns things and yada, yada. But on a short week in Cleveland, it's going to be a tough test.
Yeah, the Browns are going to be a tough out. They beat a good Buffalo team yesterday, so I don't want to overlook this team. And the Steelers are underdogs, too. Not that it matters a whole lot, but Vegas thinks that these guys are underdogs.
Yeah, look, they opened up. I think it's dipped down under 3 now, but, the first thing in the morning, it was Browns by 3 at home. So, Vegas is usually pretty good at that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This one from Peter. Hey, dear fellas, why was Hayden not allowed to run back his interception? He was touched before he went to the ground, but he was never touched while on the ground. I'll have to go back and look at it. I assume because he was touched on the way to the ground is why. I'm not recalling the process of that.
Yeah, if you're touched, even when it's in the air and you get touched on your way down, that's still being down by contact.
All right, let's get 2 more here. Garrett, hey, guys, really encouraged after the win yesterday, especially on the defensive side. I know there are a ton of factors that play into improvement this defense has seen, but I'm wondering what you guys have seen on tape schematically that could be the cause of this success. It's hard to tell on TV tape what types of coverages and blitz packages are running, but it's obviously working. Also, the miscommunication issues have been seemingly few and far between lately. I'm wondering if we should be giving Keith Butler more credit for his defensive calls and cleaning up miscommunication, or has the execution just been that much? It's not that they're doing that much schematically different. I tell you, when you're able to get pressure with 3 or 4 guys, man, and you have some guys playing in the secondary like they're playing right now, it sure makes the job a lot easier.
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't think that's a whole lot schematically different. You just have better talent and more cohesion with the group as they play together for longer and they get into the season. Everyone knows what they're doing, and you kind of have roles that are more defined. Mark Barron's role is probably a little more defined than it was early in the year. Group's healthier. So, yeah, I don't know if it's anything schematically different. You're just executing at a higher level because you have better talent.
Yeah, and as far as communication goes, there was one play in this last game between, I think, Bush and, was it Nelson on one side, where they communicated the last minute, and Bush ran. They had 2 receivers to the left there. You could see some communication go on there, and they did it properly. And just little things like that. But then you go back to the touchdown to Charles Rogers, where you had miscommunication there. So all these things aren't entirely cleaned up. You're going to still probably have a couple plays a game where things don't go to, someone misses a call or somebody blows an assignment there. You just hope that those kind of plays don't end up with a guy standing in the end zone for starters or 20 yards down the field.
Yep, I'm with you. And again, I thought the defense did a nice job responding to the tempo and pace the Rams attempted to play at yesterday.
Look, it's easy for Alex and I to look on all 22 after the fact and say, okay, this is covered. We think this covered 3, cover 1, cover 2, cover 6, those kind of things, and pick out the stunts and the TE twist and the games and things like that. But we're not holding the play sheet here.
Mm-hmm.
So there is some level of. And Alex tracks a lot of things in there. I don't know. I mean, how are they doing on blitzes this year, Alex?
In terms of how often they're blitzing?
Frequency and...
I can pull up the stats really quick. It's a little less than last year, though. Let me get the stats real quick because I just did the charting for the midpoint of the year.
And why? Another kind of question too. How many? What's the frequency of the outside linebackers drops?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Butler's blitzing 32% of the time heading into the Rams game, which is down from about 40-something% last year. And the other one's a really critical factor. I tweeted this out. The Steelers are being smart. They're letting Watt and Dupree just get after the quarterback. Watt's only dropping into the game, again, pre-Rams game, 10% of the time. Dupree, 11% of the time. Compare that to Watt's rookie year. His rookie year, Watt dropped into coverage 37% of the time. So they were just letting their guys be pass rushers, go forward, get after the quarterback.
And why wouldn't you?
Yeah, it took them probably too long to figure it out. But, yeah, let these guys go forward, not backward.
Yeah, I mean, if you do that, just disguise something on the back end,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Obviously seeing more man and those kind of things as well, too. And, look, it keeps going back to, pressure will make a defensive coordinator look smart in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm. And 10 first-round draft picks.
And 10, that as well. Joe, right, saying, not sure you know this now, maybe after you watch the All 22, but please talk about how Mason did on that fourth quarter drive that took 8 minutes off the clock. Not sure if you have time to review each play, but it was awesome. It was possibly what won the game. Man, he really looked locked in during that crucial time of the game. Also, Mason said he was looking for Johnny on that safety play. Was Johnny Holton open? We'll have to see what the All 22. He didn't have. I don't think Holton had enough time maybe to get all open on that.
Rudolph said that they doubled him and took Holton away. I think Weddle was responsible for that, so I don't believe he was open, but I haven't seen it with my eyes yet. I'm just trusting Rudolph here. And then to the first point about the Rudolph on that long drive, there was a couple completions to James Washington, which were nice, but I don't remember about that drive enough to describe it to tell you how well he did it.
Yeah, I can rattle it off for you maybe here from, I guess he's talking about the kind of the 10-minute mark in the in the fourth quarter there. Didn't start off good. Tony Brooks-James up the middle for a loss of 3 yards. Rudolph to Washington for 12 yards on a pass to the left. Do you remember that one?
To who was that completed to?
The pass short left to Washington for 12. Was that the comeback?
I think it was. I I don't know. I
I'm
don't.
drawing.
I obviously don't
I'm
remember.
drawing a blank on that one myself. Jalen Samuels up the middle for no gain. That was the one where they the punt formation, pass short. What was that? The punt made Rudolph. That was the fourth down play. Yeah. I'm drawing a blank there. It said punt formation. Yeah, that was the fourth and one there after the dismal start to the drive there. And then he went pass short middle to McDonald for 9 yards. That was the one he fumbled and recovered. Edmonds right tackle for -3. Rudolph pass short left to Washington for 19 yards. Samuel's right tackle for 2. It was a mix of not running well. They did have the Samuel left guard run in there for 6 yards. Remember that one? Pass short to Washington for 9. Yeah, look, it's hard to kind of go play by play and recall this. Let us look at the all 22 and kind of try to remember Alex does to kind of comment on this drive when we get back on it Wednesday here.
Yep. Circle back to the question earlier about the safeties. Never happened before. Steelers have never had safeties against them in consecutive games, and they won both of those games. Closest I give it to it is 2001. Not in consecutive games. The Steelers had safeties in 2 of those games and won both of them against Kansas City and Cleveland, but again, not back-to-back games. So this was a new stat yesterday.
All right, I know we got a few more questions in here, Alex, but you and I still have a lot of work to do. We're already running late getting this podcast out to people on a Monday here, and we got work. We got to start getting ready for this short week as well, too. So if you send an email question and we didn't read it, I certainly do apologize. I'm not sure, new ones I'm sure will fill in. So if you ask something it didn't get read, might be wise to go ahead and shoot us another email to get on top of the list here when we circle back to the Wednesday show here. Hopefully we'll have a beat writer on to preview the game against the Browns. We'll obviously talk about the injuries and more from the game on Sunday against the Rams too on the Wednesday show. So I guess what I'm saying is you can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and we entertain you, send us a donation, please. Go to SteelersDepot.com. Hit the donate button up right navigational bar. Also, if you want an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com, you can go to the site, hit the ad-free button. For $25, you can have an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com for 1 calendar year. A lot of people are taking advantage of that really weekly now. We're seeing signups on that. Alex, good job today. I appreciate all your work and help. Great analysis ahead of this game you and the guys did, and I'm certainly grateful for that, and I'm sure the listeners are as well. So, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.